everybody. This is Natalia Bilbao. Welcome to LA Currents. I'm sure spending 20 years as an LA municipal attorney gives you a lot of insight into what some of our city's general issues are. With this background, it's no surprise that today's guest would choose City Hall as her next workplace. I'm very excited to be joined by the councilwoman who represents the West Side District, Traci Park. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So 2023, very busy, very intense. What are some of the lessons from that year that you've been carrying on to this 2024, the first 6 months of 2024?
One of the things that I learned kind of early on was that through the council office, you have the opportunity to really bring vision and leadership to how things work in your district.
Right.
And so for us, when it came to homelessness, it was getting to know all of our embedded nonprofits and service providers. The number one issue that I hear about from my constituents now are the RVs and the vehicle dwelling. So we are shifting our resources and our focus to the more acute issue of the vehicle dwelling. That's one shift and change. In my first year in office, obviously the public safety and staffing levels in LAPD and at LAFD were big concerns. I have advocated for additional resources and funding for our public safety partners. But we've had different issues around public safety this year than we did last year. We started to see a dramatic increase in the number of residential burglaries, commercial burglaries,
retail theft,
car smashes. And so we've been working very closely with LAPD to deploy additional resources. Our collective top priority remains public safety. So we're continuing on those efforts with the recruitment and the investments in retaining our staff in public safety, but we still have a lot of work to do.
What can you tell me about the city charter reform?
I took office at a moment when trust in local government was at an all-time low. And I am so grateful to Council President Paul Krikorian, who has led this committee to get this effort done. If passed by the voters, is going to reaffirm our commitment to be a city that's transparent and accountable to our constituents.
Also, because people talk about, well, let's look at other big cities like New York and Chicago. There's 50 different districts and council members. So shouldn't LA also be updated to reach those numbers as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. And certainly the question of redistricting, I think, raises the question of, do we want to consider increasing the number of council districts? I've been pretty outspoken that I'm not supportive of this at this point. You know, I have spoken to thousands of people over the last few years about the biggest issues facing our city. Not one of them has asked for more politicians as a solution to the problem. And so I really think, you know, what is it that we're trying to solve for? If it's better constituent services, really what I need is more staffing, and I need to have city vacancies filled and, you know, more sanitation workers to collect the trash more frequently. If we're trying to solve for some type of corruption, I'm not sure more politicians is the best way to get us there. And frankly, when, you know, you talk about there are more council members in places like New York and Chicago, I have yet to see any evidence that constituents in those cities are any more satisfied with their elected leaders than people in Los Angeles are with theirs.
Well, it's true, and people say that you're a very boots on the ground councilwoman, and so how are you getting your constituents more involved in policies and in really getting their needs across to you and to your team?
Well, there's almost nothing that we say no to in CD11. We go to every meeting, every community gathering that we're invited to, and we create ones to bring people to us. And so my team and I go to all of our neighborhood council meetings. They are the subject matter experts in their own neighborhoods. So that collaboration and interaction has been extremely important to us. We go to everything because it's important that we're present, that we know our communities and its stakeholders and leaders, and that I am effectively being their advocate in City Hall.
Let's talk about the connectivity status of LAX and what's happening in that regard.
So one of the biggest capital improvement projects going on anywhere in the entire country is the People Mover at LAX. And so this is something that is going to absolutely change how people travel to and through our nation's second largest airport. And it's something that, during the pandemic, there were challenges, there were delays, and it's not uncommon on a large project like that to find challenges that happen. So we are really excited that we are in the process of getting that wrapped up and really looking forward to having that done and ready to go, certainly before the 2028 games. The real question is, are we going to have it done before the World Cup in 2026?
Yes, because there's 2026, Super Bowl in 2027, Olympics 2028, so packed future ahead indeed.
Indeed. And so that is something that through my committee, Trade, Travel, and Tourism, we keep a very close eye on, and I'm in regular communication with LAWA about the status of it.
So another important project that has to do with the Olympics too is the expansion of the LA Convention Center.
The investment in our convention center is long overdue. This is something that elected leaders in Los Angeles have now been talking about for decades, and just for whatever reasons have not previously moved forward with it. So as chair of Trade, Travel, and Tourism, I fully recognize the hundreds of millions of dollars in economic revenue that this will bring to our city. I'm aware that it's going to provide 10,000 jobs during construction and beyond. And so there are real reasons to do this. As the chair of the Olympics Committee, I am also well aware that the convention center cannot be under construction during the Olympics. In fact, it's going to need to be done well before, because there are events scheduled in the convention center as well as surrounding nearby locations. And so all of that would be impacted. But I think the council has been very clear in those instructions that if for any reason we can't do this on time or on budget, or if the terms don't come together as we hope they will, that we're going to have to put a pause on it and wait until after the Olympics are over. We cannot risk having any of those events move outside the city of Los Angeles.
I know that Measure HLA got approved, and so what are going to be the challenges of that moving forward, especially on the west side with the Olympics, tourism, Angelenos, congestion?
Yeah.
How are you going to address this moving forward?
So, this is something that we are actively working on in the Transportation Committee, which I vice chair, thinking about the implementation plan for HLA and how this is going to roll out. I had some very serious concerns about this. It doesn't create the opportunity that I would have liked to have seen, which was to establish an actual completed network of bike lanes around the city.
Right.
I would have rather spent the time and the money connecting our Olympic venues, for example, so that folks who wanted to experience the city on bike while they're visiting Los Angeles would have the opportunity to do that. I am concerned instead that we're not likely to have much completed. I am concerned about our ability to fund these projects. And so it's a bit of a balancing act, and there's going to be a lot of work.
So what are the best ways to stay in touch with you, your team, and everything that's happening across your district?
So definitely following along with social media. I am at Councilwoman Traci Park on Instagram and Facebook. And probably the best thing though is to sign up for my weekly newsletter. I put that out every Saturday morning, and that's where I communicate policies and rules that we're working on in City Hall, things I want folks to be aware of and follow along with. I also communicate a lot of information about what's happening on the west side and impacting folks in their own neighborhoods. So I only send that out once a week. I don't want to overburden people with unwanted emails, but this is a great resource to follow along. If you go to the CD11 website, which is cd11.lacity.gov, you can sign up for my newsletter there. It's a great way to stay in touch.
Wonderful. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you, Councilwoman. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. It's always fun to come in. We'll do it again soon.